In a society where we celebrate freedom and reveals in a vibrant nightlife, how do we confront the shadows of violence that lurks in moments of intoxication? Welcome to Lawishhh, where today's journey we're embarking into the really bad journey and sometimes good journey into the heart of Sydney's New South Wales most contentious legal response to alcohol fuel license. It's the One Punch laws. So it was introduced in 2014. These laws sought to stem from the tragedy of these issues, and we've seen all of the news to the streets of Sydney and beyond. So if you're captivated by the intersections of law, society and morality, make sure to subscribe for a deep dive into the legal narratives that shape our world. Again, seen some news, but let's unpack what these basically called the One Punch laws. So these were formalized under the sections of the Crimes Act, New South Wales, 1900, where it was a kind of a countermeasure, I would say, to especially from the lethal encounters in public space, incidents where lives were cut short by a single act of violence. But what underpins this law and what stirs the applause as well as the controversy, because no law is without both in most cases, okay? So before we dive deeper, have you ever had someone known affected by the alcohol-fueled violence? Share in the comments below, because I personally had it. Not person passed away, but one was in hospital, so I kind of know the impact of this. But how do you sort of perceive this balance between individual freedom and public safety? Like I always say, put in the comments, I'll try to answer where I can, and I'll like to see your insights, of course. But under the spotlight, the offence occasioning and causing death while intoxicated carries a very profound and maximum penalty of 25 years with mandatory minimum 8 years. And must be 8 years if found guilty unless very exceptional reasons. It stands murder, 25 years. So it's a law that doesn't just penalise the act, but also casts a critical eye in the role of intoxication in violent behaviour. Yet the question remains, does the severity of the penalty truly deter potential offenders, or does it highlight deeper social issues that we're yet to really understand comprehensively? What do you think in the comments? So the ethical and social implications. As we navigate through these intricacies of laws, we encountered a myriad of ethical considerations, and not just with that, but with minimum sentencing. I'm not a big fan, but I'll speak about that later in another video. But is it just to impose sort of stringent penalties on actions taken to the state of diminished capacity? And what does this say about a society's relationship with alcohol and public safety? We see it here we use as an excuse for alcohol and not being in the right state of mind. But let's pause for a moment. And if you were in a position of legislative power, how would you approach this issue of alcohol fuel license? Do you agree with legislation? Do you change it around? Let us know in the comments below. Like I always say, I don't think it's necessarily the best thing, especially with 25 years. I think it's not a good test to make, but those are my views anyway. But let's study into the case laws and the real life impact. So when these were brought to life, we'll study what the One Punch laws were about. Each case reflects not only the individual's right involved, but the ripple effects through families, communities, and the legal systems. How these stories shape collective our understanding, rehabilitation, and deterrence. So what's our role as legal defense? And this is legal matters such as self-defense, duress, and necessities emerge, offering us a nuanced perspective on humans' behavior under pressure. How do these defenses reconcile with the harsh realities of One Punch incidents? Where does this law draw between the justification and the culpability? These are all tests, these are all questions, of course, going to ask, and prosecution has to prove this, of course. But again, if we consider another issue where if you consider a loved one facing these charges under One Punch laws, what legal defenses do you think would be most applicable and why? I'm sure people have friends and family going through this at one point in their lives, a young kid especially, do some stupid things. But as we draw a conclusion to this sort of discussion and a quest to solutions becomes paramount, it's still pretty controversial. You don't see as much, but it does still exist, this law. But beyond this legal framework, what preventive measures can we as a society implement to combat the root of causes for alcohol fuel lies? Education, community program, policy reforms all play this sort of significant part. But path forward requires really a collective action and reflection, especially Sydney with this issue. But it doesn't really end here. This was actually a request from a comment, and I like discussing these kind of issues. And I think it's important to keep these discussions alive, because when the media is out and they make a big thing about some particular case, the parliament is very quick, whether it be state or federal, very quick into passing through legislation without any discussion, without any proper due diligence. And I think this is one of those laws where it was passed so fast. I think it was 72 hours it was passed. And that is really concerning, because it takes much longer for legislation normally to pass. So I'd like to know your comments. I'd like to see your insights, and if you have any questions, feel free in the comments. Thank you.